I sent 10,000 cold emails every day for 30 days. And what was the result? Well, as you can see here, it was 213 booked sales appointments on my calendar. So you can see, this is our Calendly, 213 sales calls through the month of October, and our full calendar due to sending out this many cold emails. And we also closed over 13 deals during this month. Okay, so in this video, I'm going to show you the exact 5 steps I took to do so. And again, if you stay to the end of this video, you'll understand how to implement this for yourself. So again, without boring you with all the results, let's jump into step 1. Okay, so with setting up your own cold email infrastructure, you need to purchase domains. Okay. Now, I have this quick example just to explain to you what I mean. Okay. So let's say you have your main domain, right? Let's call it advertising.com. Okay. Let's say that's your main company's domain. What you do is you purchase 50 domains that look similar to your main domain. Okay, so for example, right, there's 5 here, but for the example, right, to make it quick, you'd buy theadvertising.com, heyadvertising.com, whenadvertising.com, usadvertising.com, and different variations of that main domain. So you never use your main domain for email sending, but you purchase 50 domains that look similar. So when you email someone, right, in the actual domain, it looks something similar to your actual company, so they don't think it's like a cold email account, essentially. And what you do is you hook up 2 email accounts for every 1 domain, right? So if you have 50 domains, that means you have 100 email accounts. Okay, so now these email accounts, they will, they'll just have your name. So let's just say you're the one responding to the emails. It'll be like john@theadvertising.com, john.s@theadvertising.com, john@heyadvertising.com, john.s@heyadvertising.com. And you can kind of see the pattern here where you hook up 100 email accounts to these 50 domains. Okay. Now, when you do so, what you're going to do is you're going to have to do something called domain forwarding. What this means is every single domain, right? When you go to and someone goes to your email, so it's like they look and they receive an email from you, and it says like john@heyadvertising.com. When they go ahead and highlight this and they paste it into the browser, what happens is it doesn't just go to heyadvertising.com, which is nothing, right? It's not like an actual domain with a website on it. It's going to forward to your main domain, which would be advertising.com. Okay, that's step 1 for the domains. Step 2 is you need to set up your DNS records. So these are records that you need to set up on the actual like DNS configuration to make sure that these would be applicable for cold email or just a email account in general. Okay, so it needs to have a DKIM record, SPF record, and DMARC record. Now I know these 2 steps seem very, very complicated, but thanks to the new technology with cold email, you do not have to do this yourself any longer. What do? You use different technologies like cheap inboxes, right? Or pork bun. And I'll go through that right now. So step 1 is going to be, again, looking for those domains. So what you'll do is I'll just quickly log in here. And as you can see here, we're in pork bun. Pork bun is a domain registrar similar to GoDaddy or any other domain registrar. But essentially what happens here is you're going to go and you're going to add in your domain variations. So you can add in like the heyadvertising.com or your entire list, right? What I typically do is I head over to ChatGPT and I say like, hey, my main domain is borks.io, right? Make me 50 domain variations ending in .com because .io is like $30, so there's no point to do that, right? So there you go, borks.com, whatever, and I'm gonna get a list of 50. I'll just do 10 for the sake of the example. Okay. Now, when I do that, I can just go here. I can press add available domains and press search, and then it's very simple. Once it goes to your cart, you just purchase the domains. Very simple, and you stop there. That's done. That's the first step. Next step is going to be going over to and purchasing your email accounts. Now, typically email accounts cost roughly $7.20 per account if you use something like Google or Outlook. Now to the new setup with the new technology with cold email, you can use something like Cheap Inboxes. Cheap Inboxes is a email account provider, right? A reseller, where what they do, and not to bore you, but what they do is they pretty much purchase a giant Google panel at bulk, right? Which Google gives it to them for cheaper. And then essentially, instead of selling it directly to consumers or business owners or whatever for $7.20, they can sell it to us for $3.25 or $3.50 or $3 because they buy it in bulk and they can kind of break even or kind of make their profit on that end. Okay. So that's that. You can do something like them. It's very simple. You just book in a call or you order now. You pretty much just give them the domains that you purchased through Porkbun, and they literally do everything else. They set up the DNS records, the domain forwarding, everything that I mentioned here. They do completely. You don't have to worry about anything, and that's that. Okay. So that's that as far as purchasing domains and email accounts goes. And again, if you're doing cold email, you probably know different sending platforms like Smartly.ai or Instantly.ai or all these other like sending platforms. They're very popular. I'm going to go over a little bit more in this towards the end of this video where talking about the new age of cold email and why using platforms like that are not proper, and they will lead to extremely bad deliverability. And again, that's kind of a talk for later in the video, but essentially that's what you do is you would, tell cheap boxes to upload all of your email accounts to your sending platform when you actually send over the emails, right? Again, whether you're using Smartly Instantly or kind of the platform I'll be talking about later in this video. Okay. So now that you've purchased your email accounts and domains, let's head over to step 2. Step 2 is where we're going to go ahead and we're going to actually get the data. Now, with cold email, you obviously want to acquire data, right? Company names, company email accounts, decision maker contacts, so you can actually send out the emails to them. Now, the platform we use currently, it's called aleads.co. It's very similar to Apollo or ZoomInfo or any other mainstream database that you've probably heard of, or maybe not, but it's pretty much just a database where you can get a lot of leads from. Now, essentially, the reason why we use this is just because it's quick, it's simple, there's no external scraping, you just do everything within the actual platform. Okay. Now I'll kind of show you what it looks like. So when you actually build a list, it's very simple. What you'll do is you'll head over and you'll make an account and you'll head over to Lead Finder and you'll head over to the company tab. Okay. Now in the company tab, this is where you actually find the type of company you want to work with. Okay. So for the sake of the example, let's say I want to work with, let's just say like lending companies, right? So people that provide business loans. So I would do like lending, business loans, business lending, spell it right, business lending, whatever. I'll add in a list of words. What you could do as just like an extra helper, you could ask ChatGPT and you could say like, I'm looking to target, business lending companies via, a database. What are some keywords to go after, right? And you could actually just ask ChatGPT this question. It's very simple. And then it'll just pretty much give you all the terms that you want to do. So non-banker lender, fintech lender, whatever. Okay. So that's that. Very simple. Now, once I have that, what I'll do is I'll look at the industry tab. So I'm assuming just because, again, most of these lending companies, they're in the financial space. It's probably going to be banking, financial services, and all that kind of stuff. So I'll go over the overall umbrella that these go under. So financial services, banking, all that kind of stuff. And the reason I do this is because this excludes all the other noise, right? Because again, there could be a business lending marketing agency that fits into this bracket, but because the actual industry that they fit into, right, is financial services banking, it'll exclude all those like marketing and software companies, right? So that's that. And then you can also exclude words. You can exclude, like, for example, if I don't want to work with anyone that sells mortgages, for example, like a mortgage loan, you literally just do this and it takes the list from 47K to 33,000. Okay. Then I would pretty much just go to headcount. So let's say I want to target people between 1 to 50 headcount, and I only want to work with companies in the United States. There you go. And then you can filter by funding, revenue, SIC, NAICS, NAICS, whatever you want to call it. A lot of different ways of kind of targeting the same type of person. But as you can see here, if I go here to all these, companies, a lot of them do exactly what I'm doing, right? So this, some sort of financial service, they do CF, like a CF, like partial CFO, maintenance, lending, whatever, broker, deal service, get capital today. So obviously you could tell these are some sort of lending solutions. Again, you can get a lot more accurate when you kind of do a little bit more keyword research, but no matter what, you kind of get the idea. Small business funding, they're pretty accurate. Okay. So that's that. Now that I have the companies, I'm going to want to get access to the head decision makers, the actual founders, the people that I can actually speak to potentially close a deal with. Okay, I'll go to the people tab here. Now, the people tab, out of the 11.5 thousand companies, there's 50,000 decision makers. Okay, I'm gonna go here and I'm gonna go to I'm gonna go to job titles, right? So let's just say I want to target the CEO of the company. I want to target the founder of the company. For example, for my campaigns where I send out like the 10,000 per day, um, we provide a marketing solution, right? We are a marketing company. We help people do exactly with what we're doing right now, right? So the entire system I talk about within the next, few minutes of this video, we do that as a company. So if you do want that yourself and you do want us to build an entire lead generation system for you and you don't have to deal with all this, just click on the link below and we can get that sorted for you. But with that being said, I mean, again, this is kind of what we do. So if we were to target these people, I would probably want to target the person dealing with marketing. So a marketing company owner or someone that deals with marketing at the business, right? All that kind of stuff, whatever. You kind of get the point. And once I go here, I can filter by anything else I want. And then I can do job experience. I can do all that kind of stuff. Okay. So now that you can see here, we have, Sophia Bates that is in North Dakota, and this is her email. And it's very simple, right? I have 3.9 thousand leads. And it's very, very simple. You just click bulk export. You click how many leads you want. Let's say I want 3.9 thousand. You can name your list whatever you want, and then click create export. It exports very fast. It's roughly maybe 2-3 minutes for this many leads, maybe even less, maybe in 30 seconds sometimes, based on how many leads you actually are looking to scrape. But it's very, very quick, very concise, and then you can just pull this data and then plug it into your campaigns, which I'll show you how to do that now. Okay. So these are just different ways of doing it. Again, you could either start, from scratch with what I showed you, where you pretty much just build out your lead list here, or what you could also do, something pretty neat. If you want to target specific companies, for example, you could go to the company tab. You can you could click clear filter, and you could just go to company, and you could just put a list of domains. So, for example, let's say I want to target my company, Borks.io. Right? I'll just click that. I'll click search, and then it'll come up with Borks, right? And then if I go to people, it'll just show all the employees at Borks. Okay, so this is my business, and you could see, right, Georgie, right, which is my partner, another employee, and it shows all the people here. Okay, that's that. So that's that as far as scraping data goes. Okay. Now, when you actually scrape the data, you're going to find a list that looks similar to this, right? It'll just be like a lead list. You'll scrape it. It'll just look like a general lead list. It'll have the first name, last name, email, company name, all that kind of good stuff. Okay. When you do this, what you need to do is you need to verify the data, right? Just to make it simple, Google and Outlook look at your bounce rate. This is the rate, the percentage of emails that do not land in the primary folder, okay, of the recipient. Now, when your bounce rate is high, they know you're doing cold email because, why would you be sending an email to someone and it's not landing? It's probably because you're spamming or you're sending automated emails. Okay, so to prevent that, we verify it using a platform called Million Verifier. We pretty much just verify it. As you can see, this list was like 12,000 or 13,000 leads. We verified it, and then 11,000 came back good. Perfect. Right, so we scraped that. And then we need to normalize the company names. As you can see here, for example, this list, it has company names. And typically with the emails, we're going to mention the company names. We'll say hey, I noticed you worked at linkability.us, right? But this isn't human. Like the point of cold email is to be as human as possible. And I would never say, hey, I noticed you worked at bamf.com. It would just be bamf, right? I noticed you worked at neilschaefer.com. That makes no sense. What you do is you use something like a normalizer. Now, a company normalizer, you can use any provider. We have in our coaching program, Lead Academy, this is pretty much a coaching program where we teach you how to do cold email yourself. We have a bunch of tools here, and one of the tools is just a company name formatter. It pretty much just does this. Again, if you want to join that, you could, but that's one of the tools we have. And essentially, you put in the company name, all that kind of stuff, and then it normalizes everything. So I could say hey, I noticed you worked at AdRail. Hey, I noticed you worked at Cogent or whatever it is, or Global Media, right? Just a little bit more formal. Okay. So that's that. And now the next and final thing about data is going to be importing data into Clay and to actually personalize the data. Now, when I send out emails, I don't just send them and I don't just say like, hey, I noticed you worked at that company. Do you want to buy my service? Right? That's not going to convert because everyone gets that same email, and I'm sure you've got that email before. What we do is we personalize the data. We use something like clay.com, which is an AI personalizer, which makes your data unique. Okay, so what does this actually mean? I can show you actually an example here of one of the campaigns we ran during that month of October. So if I go here, this one mentions August, but we did launch it in October. It must have just been we just tagged it wrong, right? But no matter what, this was the one that we launched, and essentially, as you could see here, we pull the data from A leads, and then we have the first name, last name, email, company name, website, all that kind of stuff, and we use AI to find the financial product that they have. Okay, so what we do is we prompt AI with Clay, and we say like, determine the financial product, right? Make sure it's a financial product like private equity, venture capital, business funding. And what we do is we see this company, for example. If I open this, they pretty much do some sort of venture capital, venture assistance, right? They do some sort of venture capital work, and I know that because of here. So in the email, I can say, hey, I notice you guys do venture capital, and that kind of it makes me different from everyone else. And we also do is the same concept where we target them and we say, hey, I notice you, work with AI SaaS startups, which this company does work with AI SaaS startups, as you can see here, right? For VC to be, for venture capital. And just that alone, if you add that in the first line, that's going to make you so different from everyone else, right? Instead of saying like, hey, do you want to buy my service? It'll be like, hey, John, I notice you work with AI startups to help them with venture capital. Can we get you more leads for XYZ? And it becomes so much easier of a sell and so much easier of a conversion when you actually have something personalized. Okay, so that's that. That's kind of how it works. But essentially, you kind of set up everything with AI, and then you can quite literally just export all of this, and then you can add it to your campaigns later on, which I'll show you how to do so. Okay. So that's that as far as getting, scraping, normalizing, and AI enriching data. Okay. Now the next part. Step 3 is going to be the email copywriting. So when writing an email, we pretty much look at these 5 main things, or kind of just, it's the ideology behind this, kind of just writing emails. Number 1 is going to be relevance, right? So why am I getting in touch with you, right? And how it connects to what you're currently doing, right? Just like if you got an email and you wouldn't be interested in it if there was no reason to be interested in it. That's kind of what it is with the first line. So just why am I here? Personalization, a note that shows this message is specifically for them, not just an automated email. The concept I go by and I tell my team all the time is, if you can send out an email to every single niche, every single person, and it would apply to every single one of them, then it's not a good cold email, right? You want to make it so one email, right, that's sent to John cannot be sent to Abby and cannot be sent to Jason because they're also personalized to them specifically. That's what creates a good cold email setup. Okay, that's what books and a lot of calls. Then you have your offer, so whatever you're selling, and the third line, and then social proof. Again, I don't really, it's not, don't go too like stingent with this, where it's like you have to have the first line, this and this. It's not like that. It's just you want to have all these components within your actual cold email setup. Okay, so that's how you want to have it. Now, this is just a document I have for my team when they actually set up client campaigns. And I'm pretty much just going to build out a script for you based on what we did before, which worked, which again booked in that many calls and kind of got us results during those 30 days, and what I would do, okay, using this concept. So again, as I mentioned, I'm not going to always do the first line relevance. Just overall, I want to use some sort of aspects from this because again, we just know that emails convert a lot better when we use this framework. Super simple. Okay. So be like, hi, first name. I'm reaching out because I saw company. So like, let's just say it was just like John's company, or I guess I'll just do like John's, brands, whatever his company is, on Clutch, right? Which Clutch is a agency database where you could scrape marketing agencies, which again, we have in Lead Academy. If you want to scrape this information, you could scrape that information, but it makes it a little bit more personalized when we do that. So I could say, hey, I'm reaching out because I saw you on John's brand. I saw John's brands on Clutch and figured you guys were looking for more leads. Now, why am I saying that? I'm saying that because if you're on Clutch, it's pretty much an advertisement for yourself, right? It's I'm on Clutch. It's a database. It's people will find me if I'm on there. Okay, so that's why I'm saying that, right? So obviously, if you're on there, you probably want to get some sort of leads. So it's a big intent signal for the first line. Okay. Then you could say, I saw and I'm trying to figure out you guys were looking for more leads. We can get you in touch with AI SaaS startups, just like we have before, in need of venture capital within the next 14 days. The same way I'm emailing you now with a personalized email is exactly what we'd do for you. Care for a short chat. Now, very simple, right to the point, but this books in a lot of calls. And again, I would expect and hope that no one copies this word for word. I would like you to use your brain. But no matter what, you can use some sort of ideology like this, very similar to this, where you kind of go ahead and kind of use this framework and kind of use all the kind of stuff that I said here, right? You can also add in like a PS line where it's like, we helped XYZ company get 10 booked calls in 10 days, whatever, something where just add some sort of social proof. You could do that as well, but no matter what, that's the framework that I go by. Okay, so that's kind of how I make email copy. And then with this, this is personalization. This whole line is personalization because I scrape them through Clutch, right? This is personalization. I know that from their website using Clay. This is personalization because I know that from using Clay. And all this kind of stuff adds up together to make it very personalized. Okay, so that's that. Step 3 is done. Now, step 4 is combining everything into your cold email sending platform. Now, as I mentioned before, you could use a sending platform like, Smartlead or Instantly, but what we do is we use our own sending platform, and this is a proprietary sending platform that only us and our clients can use. So if you are a client of ours, you have access to this. If not, then you don't. But essentially, what it is, it's a platform that guarantees roughly 95% deliverability. We don't share IPs with anyone else. We have our own private IP, and it's hosted between only us and our clients. So when you actually send out emails, it's looked at from a position of, okay, this person doesn't send cold emails. They have a good reputation on their IP, and that's why this works so well. And that's why we can kind of guarantee that for our clients, that 95% deliverability. Okay. So with that being said, again, I'm just going to launch a campaign here. It's the same exact thing in Smartly or Instantly or Lemlist or all these other sending platforms. It's the same thing. I'm just going to show you how we actually do it. Okay. What you're going to do is you're going to head create campaign, and then you just add in the name of your campaign. What I typically do, I just add in like the naming convention of my company, and then I'll add in like the target audience. So I'll be like Borks, venture capital, and I'll add in like 1 to 50 headcount, just so when I go back later, I can actually see what I actually did. And I click on create campaign. Then simply what you'll do is you'll just click on import CSV. You'll just download this file and add it there. And then you'll add in your sequence, right? This is your email script. Right? So exactly what I wrote here in this email script, which I think I can actually just open it back up right here. I would just add in something like this, okay? Boom, add in that script. And then you can add in your subject line. Don't go too crazy with subject lines. We never really go anything crazy with that. I'll say like, Monday at 2 p.m. EST, right? Something like that, something that catches their attention, just to open up the email. But essentially, that's that, right? That's how that works. You set up your email script, and then you can have an email cadence where, for example, like 3 days later, you can send over a follow-up. If they do not respond, you could be like, hey, name, checking back in, yada, yada, whatever. And you could do the same thing another 2 days later as well, right? Where you could just send over another email as well. Okay, it's very simple. Schedule, this is just how, kind of when you want to send out the emails. We typically go from 8 to 5. And then settings, how many emails you want to send per day. Attach your email accounts. You just click add sender emails, attach them all. Again, it's pretty much the exact same in every single sending platform. And then you click ahead and launch your campaign, and then you just book in your calls. Most of or all the replies will come into your master inbox here, which pretty much just, is just looks like a Gmail inbox, and you'll just respond to the emails accordingly. Very simple stuff. Okay, so that's that. Now, the last and final step is going to be the AI outbound agent. So currently, how we have it set up in our business is we send out the emails, right? So, with that 10,000 emails a day, it's roughly, 300,000 emails a month, give or take. But every single time we get a positive reply, meaning someone raising their hand, someone saying, I'm interested, this sounds good, I want to discuss more. Within 30 seconds, they get an AI automated response that looks something like this. So the person says, okay, are you available this time? The AI, right? My AI says, hi, Ethan, love the quick response. I'm booked solid today. So it checks our calendar, but I have Tuesday at, this time, or Wednesday at this time. Let's book it. I'll kind of go you through. I'll kind of go through our entire system. If these times don't work for you, book in this. And these are all hyperlinked, so they can just book them in right away. And then we just book calls on autopilot. That's how the system works. If they do not book a call, then we follow up with the lead every single 3 days until they do so. If they do book in the call, we stop the sequence, and then we just kind of hand it off to our sales process, which, that's a story for another time on how that's set up. But essentially, we do that. Okay, so that's the AI outbound system. That's the 5-step framework that you can use to start booking in a lot of calls yourself. Now, if you are in the position where you are you own a B2B marketing agency or B2B company in general, and you want to delegate this and you don't want to do all this yourself, I have an offer for you. Right? If you want this done for you, we will set up this exact system that I just discussed. We're going to purchase the domains for you, purchase email accounts, right? Which are at a severe discounted rate because we are an agency, right? We will get you set up on our own proprietary sending platform that guarantees 95% deliverability. Okay, we're going to get you set up with your own dedicated cold email expert, right? I have people in my business that help you set up everything else here, which is crafting a winning offer that makes sense for you, that is going to kill it with outbound. Okay, we're going to generate the cold email copy for you. We're going to scrape the data, make sure it's extremely targeted for what you want to do, right? Personalize the data with using Clay, right? Book in all the appointments with our AI appointment setter, right? Provide you the SOPs and instructions to run the system yourself, right? Onboard your team to our system, set you up with compliance and deliverability checklists, and give you the full tech stack access for what we're doing for just 90 days, right? This is a 90-day collaboration. Essentially, what happens is we get this entire system set up for you. We build, manage, and scale it for 90 days. And then past that, you pretty much have this entire system plugged into your business, and you can just book in calls into your calendar automatically. And that's that. So if you found this video valuable, please do leave a like and subscribe. If you do want to work with us as an agency, click on the first link down below and you'll be able to speak with my team. But with that being said, I hope you found this valuable, and we'll go from there. See you guys in the next one. Bye.